The next generation, with the digital infrastructure sector growing at the speed of light, has become paramount and new generations have shown the road and the path into the sector. But this is easier said than done. Joining me today in Toronto is Nabil Mahmoud, co-founder of Noban Futurists, and his partner, Philip Koblenz, also part of the podcast.
Sure.
Guys, let's first talk about how the last 2-3 years have gone for you, because that kind of gave the origin to the podcasts, and then let's talk about the challenges of new generations. So how have you been?
Well, I mean, it turned out to be great in a lot of ways. It's been a great learning experience for all of us. We started the initiative in Hawaii at PTC almost
2020.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yes, right before actually COVID, or the introduction of COVID.
January 2020,
right.
before the whole
Yeah. So going back to the first question, how has it been? It's actually been great in a lot of ways. I mean, it's actually demystified technology. It's brought that forth to the general populace as to how critical infrastructure is and computing is. We were the people that were hiding behind the curtain or sitting under a stairwell somewhere, the Wizard of Oz, and now
you became the lion.
You became the lion, yes. So
that's not fair. You actually look like a lion. That's
I
not fair.
put my hair down. Anyhow,
we don't want Disney copyright infringements.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So I believe the last 2 years, if I was to over-summarize that, define the data rush era.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we talk about it all the time on the podcast. If the pandemic had started even 5 years earlier, it would have been a completely different experience, because we actually had the ability to adapt to work from home. The kids had the ability, not great in all cases, but the ability to transition to online school. And I think, it also accelerated a lot of the trends that were coming along with, work from home and being able to really achieve, flexibility and hybrid work in a way that I think has, only benefited and accelerated technology adoption.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because there was a lot of studies coming out last year, especially around summertime, the beginning of summer. They said we advanced in this from March 2020 to about June 2021. We advanced about 7 to 9 years in terms of digital adoption. So
it's crazy, but that wouldn't have been possible if not for the underlying infrastructure that supported the world. That nobody, but people, it existed, but people weren't really that quick to adopt it until they needed to.
They wouldn't know what it was holding the internet anyway, and securing their jobs.
Yeah, just to add to it, right? So a lot of this actually existed before, and that was the reason for the continuation of it. Like, the economy did not stop, businesses did not stop, things changed, and technologists have been talking about a lot of these things, work from home, we're talking about VPN tunneling in, we've been talking about a different sort of lifestyle, but it's never been actually taken seriously at the board level or at senior leadership level. And COVID actually proved all of those theories that the technologists had been prepping.
That being said, it's great to see you in person. It's great to be in person. So
to be close
the things, the things that. Oh my God, am I not wearing a mask? The things that that we were missing. I think these types of events, the ability to focus our efforts on the collaborative in-person events, I think is great to be back and being able to travel.
Yeah, you can absolutely not replace the face-to-face interaction.
Right.
Zoom is very nice, but it's had its time. Let's now go face-to-face.
No question about it.
So let's talk about all this transformation, because of course this industry requires a lot of talent, and there is a shortage of talent.
Right.
A lot of the work that you do is to attract new talent, so younger generations, genders, diversities, everything that we talk about is bringing younger people, newer people. What are the challenges of promoting this sector? Because sometimes we are accused of being a little bit inward-looking,
sure,
and not wanting to open up the Pandora box too much to the outside world.
The idea of the entire Nomad Future Initiative, the idea of the podcast, was pre-pandemic. I mean, it was we had gone around over the course of our 20-plus year careers to conference after conference and recognized the same faces that were just getting less and less hair in some cases, grayer and grayer hair in other cases. I wish I was in the second boat, but I am. Still the same ties, still the same, not really fitted suits in many cases. And what we found was so many people that were outside of our industry just didn't really know we existed until they couldn't get to TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, or AWS went down, or some application that they used that they were reliant on wasn't available anymore. And we wanted to create a platform that highlighted the stories of the people that are in leadership positions in our industry, who all came from other industries, who all started as young people that embraced this new era, because we're we're kind of the last generation that straddled the pre-digital times and what we are today, which is as a society incredibly dependent on technology. So by highlighting those stories on the podcast, and now having moved forward to the Nomad Futurist Initiative, where we're trying to create programs to teach younger folks about like the underlying, not just how technology works, which as my kids 5 and 9 can attest, they know how to use before many of their parents know how to use it, but why it works and what the underlying technologies are that power our digital world, so that it becomes the foundational knowledge that provides the leadership of tomorrow for our industry.
Okay, and sorry.
No, I was just going to add to that. I think this industry has actually been the backbone of everything, and we are a data-driven world on a go-forward basis. The challenge is that's not something that's been talked about. It's not a conversation that grandmas and parents are actually having at dinner tables. They want everybody still to be a doctor or a surgeon or an attorney.
Old school.
Nobody wants to be in the data center industry. It doesn't even exist. So, when Phil and I actually started this initiative, the idea was to, for starters, encourage the younger generation, create the level of interest that they come in with passion, right? But also bridge this digital divide, the generational divide, the technology divide that we have started to see more and more as technology is being adopted more rapidly. And then, another focus that we've got is that we see that there is going to be a shrinkage of industries globally. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose jobs, and they're actually afraid, really afraid of powering on a laptop and doing a Google search. So we want to encourage them and, share with them that a lot of us actually have actually fallen into the space that we are in a lot of cases actually purely been by accident. And if we can do it, they can do it, and this is actually just the beginning of an opportunity for them.
And it's a unique industry in that we have so many sub-verticals in our industry that whether you work in trades or you're a lawyer or in finance or marketing or whatever, I mean they're all relevant to our industry. So it's not as hard of a transition as someone would think. Most people on the outside think of technology as the white coats and the scientists and the people that are hidden in the basement and stuff. It's not like super technical. With communication is a clear differentiator.
Yeah, and I think what you said is actually it's exactly what's happening. There's a lot of moving parts in the sector. A lot of things are being still framed and thought about, like edge, for instance. We still don't really have a definition for edge, for instance. We're not going to go to it, but
I have one if anybody wants it. Maybe next episode. Tune in next time for the definition of the edge.
But also what you said about falling into the industry. I mean, 99.9999, let's do the 5 nines, of people falling into this sector without knowing what it is. It's the sector comes to you because it really needs that talent.
Certainly our generation. Certainly the generation that's in leadership that is continuing to age. I mean, this industry didn't exist. It is incredibly early in the evolution of our industry. So it's a perfect time to really get out there and make sure that people recognize it as a career path that will power future generations.
So when we talk about digital inclusivity and bringing people into the sector, getting them to understand what we do, what would you say is the one thing that's still done very badly? What's the one wrong thing that's happening in the sector today that's really impairing the ability to sell this industry to new generations?
I think, a major issue we've got is diversity and inclusion, right? We say that we do it, but we don't actually do it. I don't want to sound politically incorrect, but somebody actually made this reference of stale, male, and pale is still the definition of our industry. Now, granted, over the last few years, we've actually started to see a lot of diversity.
I saw you looking at me when you said that.
Phil didn't say that. We have another individual that actually did say
but they were talking to me when they said it.
Yeah. Are we getting better? Absolutely, yes. Are we there yet? Absolutely not. I think this is a good time and just the beginning of an opportunity for us to encourage the younger generation, women and people that are remote in areas that are underserved.
It's funny they say, because with all the work that I do and the access that I have to so many things and people, an interesting thing that I've noticed is that more mature markets are less gender equal than upcoming markets.
Of course.
So you look at Asia, you look at Latin America, you look at Africa, there's a lot more women in charge than there is in Europe and North America. And I think that's quite an interesting aspect that maybe the more mature places need to look into.
Absolutely.
Right, and look, it's not just in industry; it's also in political leadership. You know, you find political leadership is way ahead of the curve in where women have been in power, and inevitably, I don't want to be one of those like anti-male men, but inevitably those societies are better. They develop at a better pace. But I think the other thing, to touch on some of the issues in our industry, I think inevitably our industry is so private equity backed, it's so dependent on cash and capital that if, just like ESG has become a major component, I think diversity and inclusion also needs, the lead needs to be from the backers, from the finance companies to come in and recognize that securing the future leadership in our business, making sure that it is at the forefront of diversity, inclusion, both socioeconomically and gender, religious, et cetera, and making it a place where young people want to come and fulfill leadership roles is incredibly important.
Let me just bring the sustainability aspect of all this. How do you see the newer people that are coming into the industry? How much does sustainability play into them wanting to be part of this?
I think the younger generation is more on that play than we are. We have been wasting a lot, and we continue to waste a lot and over-design and under-engineer how we've been actually building the information technology infrastructure community. The younger generation understands the value, and
they recognize it's their problem, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we'll be, it might be accelerating, and it might actually be our problem, sooner than we think. But inevitably, the current generation is incredibly sophisticated when it comes to climate change and a recognition of carbon footprints and things like that, because it's it has been incredibly real in the world that they've grown up in.
Okay, and then to kind of close off our quick chat here, because it's we haven't catch up in such a long time, it's nice to now close off with a overall cap. What's next? I know on your website, what's next is all over the website, because that's the question that drives you to everything you do. You're the same thing, but I mean, we are now going to enter a period that's going to probably be a little bit difficult in Europe, North America, and it's going to impact all the other markets. I mean, what is next? What do you expect over the next 12 months for the sector, and then how does Nomad Futurist is going to play into that?
So all what I see from my perspective is growth, and a lot of it. I think the only industry that's going to see massive double-digit growth is the information technology industry. What's next? I mean, there's a lot of innovation. I mean, we're looking at, you talked briefly about Edge, but 5G, those rollouts globally, IoT being standardized, you've got autonomous vehicles, and just general life experiences are going to change over the next 12 to 14 months. As far as Nomad Futurist is concerned, we are officially a foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our charter really is to create awareness, educate the younger generation without any commercials, and share the realities, the bitter truth, and encourage the younger people to come into this space. And in doing so, we want to address the diversity and inclusion challenges that we've got. We want to talk about sustainability, but also take corrective actions, whereby eventually we want to get to a point that folks that are here listening to this are able to sponsor and support the initiative. We want to run and support scholarship funds on a global basis, particularly secondary markets where people do not have an opportunity or a career path.
Which is very inspiring. And Philip, any last words?
Yeah, look, I think one of our main initiatives is to advocate for changes in the education system globally, so that we can add the foundational technology that we are all so reliant on to those curricula, which I think are is incredibly important. And we need support in making that a reality. So hopefully your audience can help make it happen.
Yeah, and just to add to it, right? I mean, Phil and I started this 2.5 years ago, almost going on 3 years. And one of the things that I remember clearly talking to Phil about was, in order for us to make the change, we have to be the change. So we are doing everything together to create that level of awareness and educate our partners and peers to come and assist with the challenges that we've got ahead of us.
And small steps will build a long journey.
Absolutely.
Philip, Nabil, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
As for your home, thank you for watching. Do give us a follow on social media for more great, timely and breaking news from across the digital infrastructure sector worldwide. At the Tech Capital, you lead, we report. Bye for now.